All three Beards Media podcasts originate from the Gravitate Co-working Studio, sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company.
Hey, what's up, everyone? We're back 2 weeks in a row.
Woo!
Trying to get back on our normal 2-week rotation. So 2 weeks in a row with you here, and then we'll be back on the every other week. Again, coming to you live from the Gravitate Co-working Studio, sponsored by Revelton Distillery. Guys, how we doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Saw you less than 24 hours ago.
Unfortunately.
Sure did.
Still
You know what's
look
going to
the same.
happen?
What?
I was just thinking, as you said, getting us back on a regular schedule, we'll end up with a tournament game next Wednesday or something like that, or in 2 weeks on that Wednesday, I bet.
Yep.
That's probably right.
So
Actually, I won't. You guys might. I won't. I have parent-teacher conferences that night.
oh,
Yeah.
The good
So-
thing is Jim's availability opens up in February because his birthday month is over.
Well, but it's still today.
Well, it's still today, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're with us, Jim.
Well,
But I'm glad
you gotta make sacrifices.
happy
Yeah.
end of birth month, Jim.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Welcome
you
to
made it,
70.
Jim.
Oh, whoa.
Any Christmases in February you want to tell us about?
I think we're done.
Good.
Yeah.
I was done January 2nd, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, there's a lot more people that like me than like you, Sam. I can't help it.
Well, you could be right.
Maybe.
I don't know. If they've met you, Jim, I'm not sure that's true.
Oh.
Ooh.
Depends on if they've met officiating Jim or ex-coaching Jim.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, true. Or actual
You're
coaching
right.
Jim. Ben really loved me when I was coaching. He was refereeing my games.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, that's not how I remember it. Anyway.
Well, that's too bad.
So last week we talked about the last month, going through Christmas and getting back into games, and then the blizzards had some snow outs or some dates that got pushed back. I think we were able to fill all those but one, weren't we? Pretty much. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that's true. Yeah. Yep.
Fool's Rules, Jim had travel/sliding. That's a good one.
Yeah, 'cause we just had it again at South Tama. We had it twice in the boys' game. And it's hard to believe, but crazy enough, the crowd went crazy on both of them that wanted travel. And we even had some coaches that were wanting it too. But explained it to both coaches, and happened to be a timeout and talked to the crowd about it. And they understand the rule better now.
You talked to the crowd about it? Did you get on the PA system?
No. It just happened to be a timeout, and I'm right there where the kid slid. I'm going to get the ball taken out of bounds, and they asked me very politely a question about that rule, and I just talked to them about it, and they were like, "Oh, that's good to know." So, yeah.
Your attention, please. That is travel. Thank you.
I think he should be able to hand out cards at the game that say, listen to Three Blind Refs. Or podcasts, and you can learn a lot of rules, that you obviously don't know.
Exactly. I think that would be perfect.
were fun and educational.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good stuff.
We also discussed funny things that have happened, tossing fans, things we've seen in ref rooms. Yeah. Any more to elaborate on those things you talked about?
Oh.
I haven't heard from the EPA on that can of spray, so I think we're okay. Probably.
That's probably because they have no idea it's out there.
What's their timeline to get back? What's their timeline to get back to you, Ben? Because I got this weird growth growing on the back of my neck, and I'm pretty sure it's from that.
I think it was probably banned in 1972.
That's fine. If you add another hand or something, that's cool, man. I mean, I just go with it.
Oh my!
The stuff we see.
Yep.
Well, hey, I think we should give a shout out to the Melcher Dallas girls basketball team.
Awesome.
Jim, tell us about that.
Girls basketball team head coach Kelsey Goff and our assistant coaches Larry Willoughby and Adam Wadley. And the girls played in. We have a conference tournament towards the end of the season, which was last week. They made it all the way to the championship on Saturday and won the championship. And we believe, looking back at records, that's the first time that we've won the girls basketball championship in the conference tournament championship since 1998. So there's a picture of them. Good shout out to them. Great job. We're very proud of them. And we just found out today we get to host the first two regional games at our home away from home, Southeast Warren.
Very
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. What a great season so far.
Yeah.
Wish them success going forward. That's great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then next year they'll get to do that in their brand new gym. We should have shown some pictures of that, Jim. How
I didn't even think about it. But I'll get some. There'll be some better pictures next week or in 2 weeks when we have our podcast. I'll get some pictures and bring it in because the floor is almost, or actually was supposed to be done today. So as far as the wood being down on the floor, no lines painted, no finishing or anything like that. But I did kind of begged and pleaded for the athletic directors to move us up from, I think we were supposed to host in maybe 2028 or 29. And I said, our kids have been without a gym for 3.5 years. Any possibility we could move up to next year, kind of show off the new gym and let our kids play in the conference tournament in our own gym. And they were all the athletic directors were really supportive of it. Next year, 2025, Bluegrass Conference semifinals and championship in Melcher Dallas's new gym.
Cool.
Nice. That'll be great.
Very cool.
Also, who's going to open that gym for officials?
Well, in basketball, I mean, we'll have some volleyball in there, but in basketball, the three blind refs are going to open up the gym. We're going to have a scrimmage early on the season that we normally past 2 or maybe 3 years now. We went to East Union. East Union is going to come our way, and we are going to have the boys and girls opening scrimmage in the gym, and we are going to officiate that.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Yes.
It'll be good times.
For sure. Hey, also some news. Shout out to the Earlham Echo newspaper for the article about this podcast, Three Blind Refs.
Officially on the air. How awesome is that?
That was awesome. That was a great article. I hope I can. I'd like to find out if I can get a newspaper because I'd like to have that somewhere. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll try to pick some up, and I probably should post that online too because it was really well written and
very well written.
Todd Weber's the owner of the paper and the editor, and I think he does everything. And he's a great writer, and really had a great write up that talked about us, and it was good stuff. It was neat to see.
Yeah, very cool.
It really was. Yeah, Jim's claim to fame.
Oh, Sam.
Let's recap the week.
Short week.
Yep.
Well, the 26th, I believe that was last Friday after our podcast. Sam, you and I ran up to Carroll, just right down the road to Carroll.
Yeah, short trip.
And worked with friend of the podcast, Casey Pelzer. It was Carroll and Ballard, and honestly, it was two competitive games. Both kind of came down to the last few minutes, and it was a lot of fun. Good basketball. So it was fun to be there. And
it was.
We didn't get any popcorn again. However, I found out this on the way home afterwards that another friend of the podcast, Dan Clayton, shout out to Dan.
Yep.
His stepson is on the team for Carroll, and so he's doing some stuff with the Booster Club, and he recommended to the Booster Club that they take care of officials. So we had like a pile of hot dogs, and like at halftime there were baskets of warm cookies, warm chocolate chip cookies for us. It was
so good.
Good stuff.
And Ben, when you said there's a pile of hot dogs, there are 3 of us. I bet there were 12 hot dogs piled up.
Yeah,
I was like,
for sure.
Whoa, which is awesome. Eat all you want.
Yep. And Jim, where were you?
Well, I just want to tell you, Aunt Marilyn, these guys wouldn't let me go with them to Carroll.
Wait. Before we go any further, has Aunt Marilyn responded to us, including her in last week's podcast?
I haven't seen anything. I'll have to. I really didn't look in depth, but I'll have to look and see. She didn't say anything to me, or I didn't get any notifications on my Facebook or anything. So I'll have to take another look.
She's probably angry at us for the first time that we didn't ride together, so she's probably not listening anymore.
That's probably true. That's probably true. But I went to South Tama that night because not that these guys didn't invite me, because they would have, but Carroll for me is 2.5 hours, and it's hard for me to get out of school that early and so forth. But I went to South Tama instead and refereed with a couple younger kids from the Iowa City area. They did a great job. Girls game wasn't the best game in the world, but got through it and everything went well. Boys game was a fairly well played game. We didn't have too many problems at all. The 2 sliding things that we had, but everybody understood afterwards why it was not. And both coaches were great in that game. The crowd was very good in that game, so it was fun to do, to work with a couple different kids, and especially young kids that are really working at it, doing a good job.
Good to hear. What'd you do that Saturday, Jim? Because the next day you had games too, didn't you?
Yeah, we so actually Lisa went along with me on Friday night. We stayed up in Tama area and then just drove down to Montezuma for a 3:00 game. 3:00 girls game, Montezuma versus English Valleys. Montezuma's a very good girls team. Again, coaches were great, fans were great. We worked with Josh Baxter and Pat Hoberg, and they are good officials to work with, experienced, had a lot of fun. It was an easy game to work, got in, got out, went home. So it was a fun weekend working with 4 other different people, and they all did a good job. It was fun to work with them.
Nice. I also worked Saturday. The CIML had kind of a challenge with the Mississippi Valley Conference, and I think they'd done that earlier in the season also over on the east side of the state, so they were doing it on this side of the state this time. And I think Valley played Kennedy, and the game I had was Johnston and Liberty, Iowa City Liberty. And I got to be honest, that was played at Northwest, which I love that facility and that floor. But it might have been the smoothest game I've had all season, and maybe in the last couple seasons. I think we had 16 fouls in the entire game.
Wow.
And I bet you 6 or 7 of those were in the last, 5-6 minutes when it got kind of competitive. It got close again for a while. And just really well played. The basketball was smooth. The coaches, fans, everybody was great. So I had a lot of fun doing that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then last night we were at Earlham. Sam?
E-Town and down.
Want to talk about the Earlham game?
The Earlham game, yeah. Girls game, very competitive. What did it end up being, a 3-point game?
I think so. 3, maybe 4. Yeah. It was 3, yes.
Yeah, they had a shot to tie it at the end with 0.5, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, very, very competitive game. Came down to, the last possession. And then the boys game, I'll tell you what, in the boys game, I was thinking back and I was watching it back today, the amount of just bunnies layups that were
it's crazy.
They weren't bad shots. I mean, I honestly thought a lot of them were going in, but
yeah.
I mean, I bet between the two teams, I bet there was easily 20 points left.
Oh yeah.
That they left out there.
Yeah, agreed.
For sure.
But same thing, the boys game was very competitive, came down to the wire, and fun night of basketball. Crowds were pretty good. Coaches were good. So, pretty easy, enjoyable night there.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam, your parents were there to watch. That was nice to see them.
Yeah, mom and dad came to support their baby boy.
Shout out to Gary and Nancy.
Yeah. My favorite
Thanks,
anchors.
Mom and Dad. Hey.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, if Gary's ever up, which he's up there most of the time because I think he pretty much runs the show at the brewery, it's like, you walk in, it's like Norm's at the bar. Everybody comes in, hey, Gary. So, that guy's known everywhere.
I think I should probably rename the brewery to Gary's Place.
You probably should.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. He knows everyone's name. So
we did have popcorn last night in Earlham.
Ooh, yes, we did.
And it was good.
Yeah.
Best we've had so far. Best ratings.
This isn't just because I'm from Earlham and graduated from Earlham. It was legit. I rated last, actually, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually went 8.8. I think it'd been sitting there over a half, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was still good. It had like some butter pockets in there, like you'd get kind of another kernel, and the flavor was good.
Popped when you needed it to.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, you were 8.5 and Jim 8.7. So that easily leads the list for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And
definitely,
we talked about we really need to revisit Pella because I feel like we did them dirty on that. But
yeah, we did them a disservice.
We were young and dumb and new to the podcast situation.
Yeah.
So we didn't know.
Yeah. No, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pella.
Yes, we're sorry.
Anything else on that?
No, I don't think so. Jim, you got anything else about last night?
No. Great night, fun night.
You're really not going to talk about me having an inadvertent whistle.
Okay, so I didn't know we were going there, but I will. Okay. So we're at the end of the third quarter, I believe, and so we're on I-35's end. I am the lead. Ben is in the C. Sam's in the trail. Shot goes up, rebound, kicks out to a three-point shooter. She's shooting the ball as it's in the air or as it's leaving her hands. We have a whistle, and I'm like, what's going on? I look over at Ben, and Ben is doing this. And I'm looking at the shot clock, and I'm going, there's only 21.1 seconds left in the quarter. What's he worried about the shot clock being restarted? So we had a little inadvertent whistle. Not only did the girl shoot the three-pointer, she made it. It was good.
Good.
So we had to take away the basket, give I-35 the ball back. They did get 2 points out of that. So, at least they got 2 of the 3 back. But, here's the deal that people don't understand. It was, good, competitive, close game. And sometimes, your mind is going, okay, I see that shot go up and I'm looking at the shot clock and it's not resetting. Oh, but the time is below the shot clock. But it happens. I mean, we all make mistakes and we live with it and we go on, and it's the way it goes.
I got 2 things. I got a couple things. Like, A1, I owned it right away. I talked to Coach Douglas. I was like, I'm sorry, that's my bad. And we had just talked about inadvertent whistles last weekend or last podcast. So, like, that's on me. I will say, when we have shot clocks with the clock above it on the backboard, I really like that. Because I don't know, we didn't even really talk about this, but I feel like the sight lines at that gym aren't great.
They're not good.
To the scoreboards, you know what I mean? So you can see the shot clock, obviously, because it's on the backboard. But the actual clock, if you're opposite, you can't see through the stanchion or the basket to see that. So I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying I don't love the sight lines there on how that's set up.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I like the shot clocks that do have the actual game clock above, just right above it, because it's it's easy. It's real easy to tell then, and so yeah, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So that's again, you own it, you move on, and you go from there. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Anything else about last night? Anybody wants to mention?
Did we have another mistake?
Yeah, we did. It was mine.
What was it, Sam? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I had would have been a foul at the. So it was a foul against an I-35 player.
5th foul of that quarter.
5th foul of that quarter. I go to report it, and there was some. At first, I thought we were going out of bounds, and then realized that it's 2 shots. I went to report the foul, came back, and I lost the shooter. So the person who got fouled. Kid goes to the line, and Ben, you came to me and you said, "Is that your shooter?" And I knew that wasn't the shooter. However, I had zero knowledge of who was the shooter. So at that point, I thought, since I don't have knowledge, then we go with who came to the line. So, but watched it back today. The kid who was a shooter was around the play. It wasn't the kid who got fouled. Not making an excuse. But I messed up. It is what it is. Like Jim said, you move on.
I don't like the blame's not solely on you either on that type of play, because you have the responsibility with the foul. Jim and I really need to make sure that we have who's doing what. And we did have a lot of time that we were trying to figure out, are we shooting or are we not? So I was waiting down at the other end. The table wasn't helping you really at all. So like it happened, and I feel terrible about it because we should have helped you out. But I had a feeling when we got to that point, I was like, I don't think this is him, but I didn't have knowledge either. So
I didn't think so either, but well, learn from it and move on.
Move on.
So I guess the moral of the story is like we make mistakes. We try not to. And we've already kind of reviewed those and looked at them and made sure that we're, learning and trying not to make those mistakes again. So,
yeah, I was thinking back again today about it as I was watching it. And I'm thinking, man, how nice would it be? Of course, it won't come to this, but say you're doing a college game. Oh, who was your shooter? Oh, let's go to the monitor and check.
Yeah.
Of course, absolutely. I go back the next day. I watched it last night when I got home, So you go back and watch it, but so.
All right, moving on.
Anything else?
I think we're good on that game.
Okay, we're good on that game. Jim, you know what time it is?
Yes, I do.
Here we go.
It is.
They fooled me, Jerry.
Just love that introduction.
A kiss.
So we've talked about quite a few Fool's Rules. This is one that actually I had another official, I believe it was Adam Westwald. He actually texted me one night after a game and said, hey, could you talk about this on your podcast? So came up, we're looking for something today. So it is reaching in. We hear this all the time from coaches, fans, players even. They're reaching. Okay, good.
That's a reach.
Yes, that's a reach. I remember back when I was coaching that some officials would on the captain's meeting would take a long time talking about many things. And one of them I remember at one time, well, this happened more than once, but was, okay, make sure you play defense with your feet, not your hands. Don't reach in and da-da-da. I'm like, now, wait a second. You're telling me that if I can't play with my hands, I can't deflect the pass. I can't take a dribble away. You know, that to me is, you know, I don't know why you would say that in a pregame meeting, but it happens. But yes, girls, boys, basketball, you can reach in for the basketball. You can't make contact, but you can reach in and grab the ball. And, you know, some people, I think, when they're up in the 7th, 8th row and they see that happening and they think they've got the best view of it, and we're down there right in the action, and we can see that they're touching the ball or maybe touching nothing but air as they're trying to go for the ball. So, yes, they are reaching. And sometimes I've even just, you know, kind of smiled and nodded my head like, yep, they are reaching because they are, and it's not a foul. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have to make contact and that. So, and it, you know, and we want to make sure it's a legal contact. Sometimes we have a little bit of a touch. When that happens, girl doesn't lose the ball at all, doesn't even lose control of the dribble. She's got it. She continues. We move on. Those are kind of game interrupters if we're going to call every little touch. So, yeah, no such thing as reaching in. If we have contact, then we have a hit, and then we're moving on. So
sometimes too, I think we have a push where the player tries to go for a basketball that's being dribbled on the opposite side of where they're at. So if they're on the left side, they try to go for that ball on the right side or try to pick it and they hit him in the shoulder or through the body. And that's where I would have a push on that play too.
Yeah.
But never reach in. So,
right.
Yeah. Advantage, disadvantage.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Good
Fool's Rules, Jim.
Yeah, not a whole lot to talk about that one. Just that it's just the terminology that people use that it's incorrect. You know, they're reaching in. Yep, or that's a reach. Yep, yeah. Sure is. Okay, when it becomes a foul, then we're going to call it whatever foul is appropriate for that. A push or a hit, we're going to call it. So
yeah.
Yep.
We're not going to call it a reaching foul.
No, we're not going to go over to there and say she's reaching in or he's reaching in. You know, no such thing.
That's a reach.
So yeah.
Whoa! Whoa!
Sorry, that was uncalled for. On that note, I think it's halftime.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Also, we need to get a horn for halftime, do we not?
Yes.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah. Our guest is here, and I'm excited to talk to her. So we're going to go to halftime quick, and then we will be right back.
Awesome.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip, and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, There's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. The great thing about working from home is working from home. The worst thing is working from home, especially for face-to-face collaborations with customers and coworkers. And let's face it, coffee shop meetings are neither private nor professional. So skip the trip to Starbs and investigate Gravitate Co-working Space. For more than 10 years, Gravitate has provided large and small office and conference spaces perfect for hosting meetings, workshops, or other events, as well as private phone booths for confidential conversations. Plus, all spaces include secure fiber internet, free coffee, and access to a kitchenette. All you need is your laptop. Gravitate does the rest. And renting space at Gravitate is surprisingly affordable. An hour of office space costs about the same as venti caramel macchiatos and breakfast sandwiches for two. Daily and monthly rates are also available with no long-term commitment. Learn more at gravitatecoworking.com. That's gravitatecoworking.com.
All right, are we ready?
Ready.
Sam, I'm going to let you introduce Gene.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. There we go.
Gene, how are you?
Good evening. Happy Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm at state wrestling. Is it Wednesday? Yes.
Still Wednesday.
Yeah.
I was so confused what day it was.
I know.
Gene, thanks a lot for joining us. For those of you who don't know, Gene is the executive director at the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. Again, Gene, thanks a lot for being on. It means a lot to us. And we're excited to, kind of ask you some questions, get your insight, and have you tell some stories.
Okay.
It's hard to believe, Gene, that you have pink on. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Well, the real question is, why don't you, Jim?
It was dirty.
Oh,
I actually was going to have I have a Monday Minute T-shirt,
yes.
and I wore it earlier this week. So
Wait, how did you get a Monday Minute T-shirt?
because they had a contest, you had to reply on Facebook, with a comment and whatever. And then they drew names, and so you got to do something for it. You just can't sit around and wait for someone to give it to you.
All right. Well, you did have your pullover on, I think, yesterday.
I did last night.
Didn't you?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse. I totally don't have an excuse.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So, Gene, wanted to start off by having you tell us, describe your background and the path that you took to eventually become the executive director at the union.
Well, when I went off to college, I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And I even took the LSAT, got into the University of Iowa Law School, but didn't go to law school. I graduated with a degree in journalism. And so what I did at Iowa was I combined the two things I was good at, which was sports and writing. And I actually got my start in sports journalism as a sports information director. So I worked for the University of Iowa Athletic Department in sports information as a graduate assistant. And so let me give you the time frame. That was when they typed on a typewriter.
Say something about it, Sam.
Yeah, Sam, do you know what a typewriter is?
I do. I'm not saying that to Gene. That's mean.
Well, you say it to me all the time.
Well, that's you, Jim.
In the early days, you didn't even have the one that corrected itself. You just went on. But I typed play-by-play at Iowa men's basketball. Now, that was Lute Olson.
Oh, wow.
Kevin Boyle.
Yeah.
And I was at the game with Jim Bain. Every official knows the Jim Bain story.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got my start in sports info. then got my master's. And then I went into college athletics as sports information, and I ended up at Drake working with Lisa Bluter. She was the Drake women's basketball coach then, and eventually just worked my way up into administration. So my start was really through my writing skills, if you want to know the truth, and it was what I was good at. So that's how I picked my major. There's a lot of worse ways to pick a major than by what you're good at, I know, but those days, that's what I did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. So
when the
go ahead, Ben.
when the job came open at the girls' union, was it something you had thought about before, like it was in the back of your head, or was it just like, oh wow, this opportunity would be great?
Yeah. Actually, no. At the time, the girls' union job came open, and I started in July of 16. So this was probably late 2015. I was at UNI.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Dannon was the director of athletics at UNI. Now, just for you historians, Troy was the executive director of the girls' union after Dr. Cooley. And after Troy was Mike Dick, and Mike Dick is from Winterset, as I am.
Yep.
So
yeah, Gene.
Troy was at the time leaving UNI to go to Tulane, to be the AD at Tulane. And so I thought that I was either going to be the AD, try to be the AD at UNI, or I was also interviewing for other AD jobs. And then Troy told me that the girls' union job was going to come open. And I thought, well, I'll just see. I'll throw my hat in. And so, March of 2016, I interviewed and got it, and I started in July. So it really wasn't on the radar. But, I think it just came at a time, they say timing's everything. So it just came at a really good time for me. I was going to make a change probably in my job anyway. I was kind of tired of how cold it was in Cedar Falls. and Cedar Falls is colder than Des Moines. Don't let anybody kid you. It's colder in Cedar Falls. So it just came at a great time, and it worked out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good. So what was your biggest mission when you became executive director? I mean, is there anything that you really wanted to implement, or?
I knew that I was really, really proud of being an Iowa girl. I knew that it meant, by then I was smart enough to know that everything I learned through sports had sent me on a trajectory to success, but I sense that the Iowa girl needed some help in believing in herself. She needed some help in promotion and marketing and branding. I mean, if you were an Iowa girl and you played in the state basketball tournament, you thought there was nothing better. But we kind of lost a little bit of steam, I thought. And I went back to something that Dr. Cooley had said many, many years ago. And he said he wanted the Iowa girl to walk down the street and hold her head as high as the Iowa boy. And so that's really what I wanted. I wanted the Iowa girl and the girls who are playing sports to understand. First, I wanted them to know that they were recognized and they were seen, and that what they were doing was important and appreciated. And then I wanted to reward that experience at our championship by making the experience they have as an Iowa girl something that they would remember the rest of their lives.
Awesome. That kind of you pretty much answered another question, because one that I wanted on there was, what does the phrase Iowa girl mean to you? And I think you kind of explained it right there. And I think it's a big deal for I had 3 daughters of my own. I've coached a majority of girls sports since I've been coaching, and it's a pretty neat thing to talk about the Iowa girl.
It's important for any student, but for girls, they need confidence. They need to believe in themselves. They need to learn to accept criticism. They need to understand that just because someone yells at them doesn't mean it's a reflection on them. There's so many skills they learn through sport. And once they learn those, they come out of that experience better, more confident, more sure of themselves, with a better self-awareness. And for nothing else, if girls participating in sport understand that, then we've done a really good job in defining what an Iowa girl means.
Awesome.
Very cool.
You know, we talk a lot, Gene, about the girls' state tournaments, and that can be various sports, obviously. We have probably the most experience with basketball, and have been pretty fortunate that softball too.
Yeah.
And every single one of them is put on as just top notch. And I think every official would tell you, it's a big deal to get selected and be there. And it feels like pageantry, really. I mean, it's awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, in addition to the girls' experience, I hate to tell, I will confess that years ago, I was one of those people that yelled at officials.
We all were.
We've done. I never did.
Right.
I can remember sitting next to the husband of one of the basketball coaches that I worked with. I won't name names, and he yelled at a Division I women's basketball official, "Where'd you get that shirt, Lady Foot Locker?"
Oh.
And I was like, "Yeah." Then I was on the women's basketball committee and working the Final Fours and stuff, and I got to know the officials, and it really just turned me around. And what I've come to understand and know is that officials are part of our game, just like a coach and an athlete. And so when we want the athlete to have a great experience at a state tournament, we want our officials to have that same experience. And, we've done some things that I think have been really, really good for officials with evaluations and our regional advisories and our coordinators like Chuck Britton and Kathy Creighton in softball and Deb Richards in volleyball, to let the officials know, that we appreciate them, right? That what they're doing. But more than anything, that when they make the state tournament, I believe they've earned it. It isn't because you're best friends with Chuck that you get to come to the state tournament, you guys. And it isn't because you're from Winterset and I know you. You actually have earned your way through our evaluations, our recommendations. I mean, we watch a lot of officials work games.
Mm-hmm.
I go out and watch, and the officials are like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I say, "Oh, well, Chuck Britton's paying me $25 to evaluate you." But, he doesn't pay me, but he'll ask me what he's taught me a lot. I've learned a lot about it. But the important part is that you are a part of our game. And if we want our game to grow and get better, then, we have to start treating officials like they're part of us. And that means appreciating and helping them get better, because officials want to get better. I know they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
I've always appreciated, Gene, I've seen you out there before, and I'm going to throw up, pink shoes. I think it feels good, to get the buy-in from the top too. When we see you walk in, you may not be the evaluator, but you care enough about us as well that it means something to us when you walk in. So that's a good feeling. And so thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I enjoy watching. I really like, the subtleties that I didn't know about. I don't, Chuck is a big mechanic guy, he's like, well, his mechanics and everything. And I'm really into, like, how do you talk to the coach? How do you manage the game? How, this, all those little things that make the game flow. And, the old saying that, if you aren't talking about the referees, they really did a great job. That's managing the game, right? And so I'm fascinated. It took me a long time to learn rotations, though, and like why you don't get a call of foul. It's not, and where your eyes are, and all that stuff.
That's all right.
confusing.
Sam's still learning too. So
I was just gonna say that about you, Jim.
I beat you to it.
Yeah. So I'm still learning, but I do like to come and watch how the flow of the game and the management of the game is done. It's just really fascinating to me. So that's kind of what I watch. In addition, I evaluate the popcorn too. Always, I evaluate the popcorn.
Okay, so where's your top that you can think of? Where's your best popcorn?
Waukee Northwest.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
nice.
First of all,
Try
it's a
that.
big bag, really big bag.
Well, it's probably also a brand new, the best popcorn maker that's
Yeah.
in the state with that facility they've got there.
That's fair. That's fair.
But there's a lot of good popcorn in the state. I used to like I just was in Grundy Center for Grundy Center IGHSAU, and they have Spartan corn.
Oh,
And
they named their popcorn.
Yeah, it's got M&Ms in it.
Oh,
And
Brilliant.
last night when I was there, they had pink M&Ms because it was Coaches versus Cancer.
Nice.
awesome.
Cool.
Nice.
That's
Bonus.
awesome.
That's a bonus.
Yes,
That's a huge
yes.
bonus. Yeah.
Sam, what were you talking about that was the marketing deal for popcorn last night?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you get someone to sponsor the bag, right? Put their logo on it, and then what do you always need when you eat popcorn? You need a toothpick or something.
Yeah.
So then have a dental office slap one of those dental floss pickers on the side of it with their name on it, and you're
Awesome.
marketing for two businesses on the same
Yeah,
bag.
nice.
Yeah,
It's gross, but it's a good idea.
I mean,
Yeah, because somebody's going to have to pick those up off the bleachers.
well, if you had any integrity at all, Jim, you'd throw it away in a waste paper bag.
You've seen some of the fans around. You know that there's going to be some all over the bleachers.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was exciting.
Here's another one that I think, we're unique in Iowa that we have a girls' a union and a boys' association. Why do you think it's important that we do have two different associations for our girls and boys?
Well, Jim, I have my speech about that, of course, but I always answer it this way. Why isn't everybody doing it the way Iowa does it? So I'll give this example in basketball. So Indiana invented basketball, right? The state of Indiana thinks basketball belongs to them, and they do it better than anyone else. So their girls tournament, they have 5 classes, and they bring 10 teams to an arena in Indianapolis and play their state championship. Anything before that is at a high school.
Really?
Yeah. And all boys teams in 5 classes get to come to an arena. So I think the simplest answer is it allows us to focus on girls. All I do is think about girls.
Yeah.
And I thought about this today when I was, when you officiate a girls' game, it's different than officiating a boys' game. It has nothing to do with the rules. The rules are the same, but there's a lot of differences in how you officiate that game. There's a lot of similarities, but we're different. Girls are in sport for different reasons than boys. And coaching girls is different than coaching boys. And
Sure.
so to have an organization that is devoted solely to focusing on girls and their participation, I mean, we have one that focuses on boys. We have one that focuses on speech. We have one that focuses on music. And I just don't think you can ever go wrong focusing on kids.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Gene, what's one or several of your favorite memories from the girls' state basketball tournament, or favorite traditions?
Yeah. Well, now remember, I played 6-on-6. You know, where you dribbled twice and shoot. That
Jim and I remember that.
I
Yes.
might have to pull up some videos, but I'm gonna look into that.
I mean, have you guys ever officiated a 6-on-6 game? Jim has.
Yes.
I mean, two people. You had to catch the ball when it went through. You had to throw it to half court to your partner, who bounces it into the center circle. I mean, it wasn't for the faint of heart. I mean, you know, and a lot of scoring. So I played 6-on-6, and the state basketball tournament was 16 teams. There was one class. And it was probably, I would guess, you know, between 350 and 40 schools then, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
50 years ago, you know. So getting to the state tournament was, you know, was just amazing. I mean, Winterset had to beat Ankeny or Norwalk, or, you know, it didn't matter the size you had to get. And mostly Ankeny with Dick Rasmussen and the Yori, you know. We couldn't get past them. So getting to the tournament was just a dream come true. But we would always go as a team, and the Debbie Coates. I remember watching Debbie Coates. I remember when Adele was good with Larry Niemeyer and Joyce Elder and Julie Goodrich. I got to meet Julie Goodrich when she went into the Hall of Fame, and I was like, oh my gosh, I loved you.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the memories of the state basketball tournament, for sure, the Parade of Champs, the Parade of Champions, where all of the teams and everything came back. That's a memory. And now, you know, on Saturday, we bring in the team that won the state championship 50 years ago. And to hear the stories of, they came to the tournament and stayed all week. They got the whole week. They were at the state basketball.
Wow.
Yeah. So my favorite, I think, is they were from Roland Story, and they came and they got to stay in a hotel, and they were up high in a downtown hotel, and they said to their coach, look out the window, look at all of those cars. They're probably here to watch us play. And the coach said, that's a car dealer lot. That's a car. But, you know, coming to Des Moines then was a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Staying all week. And I think it still is. I think girls from small town, you know, and that aren't in the metro coming to Des Moines to be at the state tournament is still a big deal. It was a big deal, you know. I have great memories of some of the great players that I loved growing up. I got to meet Denise Long in person. So many of our former great players. And so that's probably just my best memories of the tournament, is just the players that I saw play.
Awesome.
Gene, I gotta know what is your favorite thing about growing up in Winterset?
Oh gosh. Well, you know,
Don't be afraid to leave anything out that you may or may not have said to me earlier tonight.
This is interesting.
You know, I had 4 brothers, right? You know that, Sam. I had 4 brothers.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And one of them still lives in Winterset. You know, I just remember, well, I mean, I got into a lot of trouble, you know.
You did?
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I mean, there was a time like climbed the swimming pool fence and, you know, at night, and the cops came by and I had to hold my water under the deep end for a long time. That's the old pool.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I remember the old pool.
Yep. High dive.
but I also remember first of all, I had teachers and coaches in Winterset, long-time coaches who knew what they were doing. It was awesome. That helped me a lot. And it was and I think it still is a community that supports its school, and it supports its athletics. And athletics, I think, in Winterset is one of those, front porch deals where it really athletics really showcases what the community, or can showcase what the community is all about, and they'll get behind their teams and support them. And that was true when I played too. They started softball my freshman year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we played on the baseball field for a long time until we got our own softball field. And where the softball field is now, where Ben's daughters play, was the first field that I played on. And we would practice with Coach Krause. And then at the end of practice, he would say, pick up a handful of rocks and come on in.
Yep.
So we actually cleared that infield, rock by rock, the team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a major improvement, but we were really proud of our first field, and that was probably 75 or 76, 1975 or 76. So, it was, and of course, I just played all the sports against my brothers, football, everything. Took my fair share of beatings.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, but Bob lives about a block and a half away from me.
Well, I'm sorry.
I see Bob a lot out in his driveway now that he's retired.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could get him to clear your driveway, Sam.
You know what?
He has plenty of.
I drove by after that snowstorm. He had the cleanest driveway in Winterset. No joke. Like, there was no snow on it. Everybody else's has like a foot of snow. Bob's is clean.
Now, my brother Bob yells at the officials. You know that, correct?
What's funny though is Bob was a longtime basketball official too.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But and in COVID, this is true. In COVID, before we decided we were going to play softball, he would say, "You got to let the kids play." And Jennifer, my niece, who's the assistant softball coach at Winterset, and Michelle, my other niece, they were like, "You got to let him play, Jean. Please, please. We'll do anything if you play this summer." And I say, "You got to stop yelling at the refs. You got to stop it." Okay, I promise. I promise. So now when I watch the softball stream, I can hear my brother on it.
That's true. You actually can. I think the microphone is close enough that he's right there.
For Christmas this year, I gave them all the NFHS basketball rules book and
Nice.
Awesome.
That's great.
And I love when Jim does his like over the back, and what's they will yell, "Call a foul, that's over the back." And I'm like, "Well, is that in the rule book? Have you read the rule book? Because that's not."
That's great.
So we the girls' union has a little thing where we don't take much bad language. We're concentrating on the people who are yelling inappropriate things, and we kick them out. And we may or may not have a leaderboard, and I may or may not have a leader for kicking people out. But at state softball, my staff bet that my brother would be the first person I kicked out. I will tell you, he's better than he used to be. So now sometimes he will send me pictures of officials and he'll say, "These guys did a pretty good job."
Pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. My other favorite Winterset story is about Ben.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Winterset was playing. It wasn't even Ben. Winterset was playing at Des Moines Christian. And people were yelling, "Applegate, hey, Applegate, call something." And I was like, I looked around, and probably for the first half, I was like, you idiots. And finally, somebody yelled, Applegate, you don't even know what you're doing. And I turned around and I said, you do know that that's Ben Applegate, and he could never work a Winterset game. Jason Alons. So now I call him Ben Applegate too.
I've heard that story.
So shout out to Jason Alons. I've even had evaluators. I think Bob Neswold confused us one night. He's like, weren't you just a Dowling? I'm like, no, Bob, that was Jason Alons. So yeah, we have similar thinning hair, I guess. And anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Yeah, I have friends and coaches and different people that call me that. So yeah, it's a running joke. I don't know if Jason knows that, but yeah. Kirk usually texts me and he's like, "Hey, we have good Ben tonight."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll just kind of touch on one other thing here because you are at the girls wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
That's a newly sanctioned sport for you guys. How does that process work? Are there other sports that you guys are considering? Are we pretty well, this is it? I mean, that had to have been a little bit of a long process, I assume.
Yeah, it was. And I don't think for the wrestling people, I don't think it was nearly quick enough. They thought, but when we first started looking at it, we probably had about 40 girls wrestling, and they were wrestling on the boys teams. And then it grew to a couple hundred. And so last year, in the first year of sanctioning, we had 2,300 girls wrestle.
Wow.
This year we have 800 more.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's at levels 9 through 12. And I think probably, that's tremendous growth. I think it really is telling when we went to do our brackets for the qualifying, how many entries we had. So we have one class, 14 weight classes. Last year, we had a lot of brackets with only 10 entries. So a girl would wrestle through that, and if she won it, she'd qualify for state. This year, we only had one bracket with 10.
Wow.
So what it tells me is that a school who maybe had 2 wrestlers now has 6. Winterset added it, and they have 2 qualifiers in their very first year, which was good to see. So it's growing, and I think it's growing in a way that will allow us, in a very, in a manageable way to manage the growth. It won't be long probably before we'll be in a dual tournament where schools will have enough in each weight class where we can have a dual tournament. And right now they don't last very long. Man, those wrestling officials are calling the pin pretty fast. Sometimes it's, I can't remember the last time I saw a 3-period girls wrestling match. It
Really?
might go pretty quick. Yeah. We're above 2 minutes as an average, but it's quick. But they're learning and growing, and I love the coaching they're getting. The coaches are really working hard, so it's been going good. But it took us probably 3 years. 50 schools, which is 15% of our membership. Once 50 schools say they're going to add the sport, we can sanction it. But we are talking about an emerging sport process. So if there is, let's take lacrosse,
Sure.
It's probably not going to catch on in every school district. I mean, I don't think Jim's going to add lacrosse at Melcher Dallas, right?
Right.
Just doesn't have the kids. But, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, West Des Moines, Council Bluffs, Sioux City. So if we were to look at lacrosse as an emerging sport, and, they could, because, they're 30 to a team, if they could offer opportunities for girls, we have roughly 1,500 swimmers. If we could get 1,500 in another sport, it wouldn't have to be at 50 schools, but we're still offering additional opportunities. But this is the big secret, the one I am most excited about that we're really working on is flag football.
Really?
Yes. So
that's awesome.
Neat.
Yes, the NFL
That is cool.
sponsoring grants to states to offer flag football for girls, and the Minnesota Vikings have reached out to us. So right now we are trying to figure out where it would be, how we would offer it. We have the field. We have, for the most part, it's person football, right? What the boys play. So we have officials who know the rules. We have coaches who know. We have our facilities. So Taylor Anderson in our office is heading that up. So we're pretty excited that it would be another opportunity for girls in flag football.
Neat.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we're breaking news there. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to come out of retirement and coach football again.
You go. Perfect.
Well, Jim, she said that there were coaches who knew what they were talking about, so you wouldn't fall into that category, buddy.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you.
Oh.
Well, Gene, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're in Coralville at the state tournament probably and getting ready for tomorrow. So, thank you for your support and advocacy for officials and everything you guys do for us there at the Girls Union. So,
Well, we do appreciate you, and we hope you realize that we are working to help recruit, retain, and make sure you know that we do value you as part of our game.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if we have time, but I'd really like a quick story here. I didn't put this on our agenda, but
go.
I just think this is one of the neat things about Gene.
Yeah.
So it's about 4 years ago, I believe. I'm taking the junior high cross country team to watch the varsity runners. Coach wanted them to come to get the experience, but she didn't want them to have to leave school as early as the varsity kids did to go. They go walk the course beforehand and all that. And so I said, sure, I'll take them up because I want to watch the varsity kids run anyway. And so we go watch it, and we're riding home, and I have this 7th grader sitting beside me in the Suburban, sitting in the passenger seat, and we're talking. She loves basketball, absolutely loves it. She could tell you all the best basketball players from the past 20 years, probably. But anyway, she just all of a sudden she goes, I'd really like to meet Gene Berger. And I whipped my head around and I said, how do you even know who Gene Berger is? And she says, well, because of state basketball, and I watched this and watched that. And honest to God, I went back to school, and I'm talking about this in the teacher's lounge, and we had at least one girls coach that was in the teacher's lounge as I'm talking about this and said, I don't even know who Gene Berger is. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. She's the executive director of our union. Yeah. So anyway, try to make this as short as I can because I know we're over time here. But I emailed Gene after that. And I didn't really know Gene except for I knew who she was. But I emailed her and said, hey, I told her a little bit of the story. And it's just amazing. And well, first I asked, why do you want to meet Gene? She goes, I want to do her job someday. I'm like, wow, a 7th grader thinking about stuff like that. So, so I emailed Gene, and all of a sudden, her mom, little girl's mom, calls me and says, hey, I got a package that came from Gene Berger from the Girls Union. Can we come to your room and have her open up in front of you since you kind of got this going? I said, absolutely. She opens up the box. It's got Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union apparel and all kinds of stuff, and tickets for the week of the state tournament basketball. And this girl was just ecstatic. It was the neatest thing ever, coolest thing that one of the coolest memories that I'll have in athletics. And this girl now she's a junior on our basketball team. She is the leader of the team, that just won the conference tournament, and it's Addison Wadley, and just a great kid. And so, making connections like that when you are the person, doing the position, Gene, that you do, I think that's just very cool that you reach out and touch kids like that. And, I know you guys have a little bond, a little relationship there with her and her family. And it's neat. And it's neat. She comes up to state basketball tournament every year and skips school a few days and that. But she's a great student. So she does, that doesn't bother her at all or bother the teacher. So I just think that's a great story. And I think that really explains how much you think of the Iowa girl.
She's, I went to watch her play. I watch her play every year, Jim. I saw them they were at Ankeny Christian and they beat Orient Maxburg. And then that was before the championship of the tournament. And Addie and her mom and dad and her grandparents are all coming to the state basketball tournament again. And every year, Addie and I fill out our brackets of who's going to win it. And she smokes me every year. She knows basketball, but, she is the prime example of a young girl who develops and grows and gains confidence by her participation in sport. And I'm really proud of her. And I will always stay in touch with Addie. And so I thank you for making that connection because and she's a great kid, Jim. Great kid.
It's to me, it's such a great story, a neat thing. And like I say, it'll be one of the things I talk about. I told these guys the story. I tell people all around about this story because I just think it is one of the coolest things that's happened since I've been coaching, being the athletic director, refereeing. So kudos to you to reach out because I know there are many girls across the state that you have done things like this for. So it's very cool and I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Very cool story.
Awesome. I have one last very quick question, Gene.
Okay.
If there were 3 guys that did a podcast about officiating, would they be allowed to potentially do a live podcast at the girls' state basketball tournament?
Center court.
Yes.
Wait, were you talking about us?
Yes, dummy.
Or do you want to do it in the players' lounge with the pink chair?
Ooh.
We'll talk.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Yes.
Maybe we have a couple.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Talking to players, coaches, officials. We could do a lot of things that week.
Yes.
Absolutely you could do the podcast. We do something every tournament. We do something new. We do something old, something new, and something pink, to borrow a phrase. So there is something new and big at girls state basketball this year. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but when you come, you'll know. If you're fortunate enough to come to the state tournament.
Right.
Yes.
I
Jim.
haven't seen anything from Chuck, so.
Dang it.
Well,
I guess I'll just have to buy a ticket.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
whether we're officiating or not.
Absolutely, you can do a podcast live from the girls state basketball tournament.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, to all our listeners, you've heard it here first. We're going to be down there, so we're excited about that. So
yes.
Well,
Gene,
thanks
thank
again,
you so
Gene.
much.
Thanks, Gene.
We appreciate you very much. Thanks
Thank
for all
you.
you do for officials and also for the Iowa girl. So thank you very much.
Take care.
Yep.
What a great person.
That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jim, I don't know. You might have told me that story before, but I don't know. But that is an awesome story.
Oh, it is neat. I mean, I just, I couldn't, first of all, I just couldn't believe that 7th grade girls wanting to know about Gene Berger,
Right. And what 7th graders
not only
says,
that,
I
just
want her
to
job
know
someday.
and to know who she is. I mean,
Yes.
that's the other thing, because it's not like, I don't think there's a ton of people who absolutely know who's leading our girls' athletic union besides officials, maybe, and coaches. And, obviously at the time, some coaches didn't know that, but
Yeah.
So she is, she's a special kid. And it's just kind of neat to see the bond that they've got.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I feel like we maybe worked that state tournament together, Jim, because I remember that story, kind of from inception a little bit. So,
Yes.
always cool. And especially now, I think that she's grown up, if you will, and playing ball and really doing well for that team and helping their championship aspirations. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great.
So where are we at coming up?
All right. So tomorrow, Sam, you and I are traveling to Coon Rapids Baird. I haven't been there for a while. And have you ever?
Never. Nope.
Awesome. That kind of is a run for you. You hadn't been to Earlham. You hadn't been to Carroll other than as a player.
Yeah. I live 15 minutes away from Earlham, and I've officiated for 10 years. That's the first time I'd ever been there.
And I live an hour and 5 minutes, and I've been there 3-4 times at least.
Coon has ACGC, the school, not the rock band. And I think that'll be pretty competitive games. So we'll be with Pelzer again. Jim, you have home game maybe?
Have a home game. We have senior night tomorrow night at Southeast Warren or Melcher Dallas West. So we'll go over there. We'll have our last home game, and we'll honor our seniors before the game.
Yep. And then I think we kind of pretty well wrap up the season, and we're together the next 3 games. Friday, Pella Christian versus Pella. That'll be a battle, and that'll be a full crowd. That'll be fun as heck.
Yep.
Next Tuesday, Central Decatur and Clark. Always love going down to Central Decatur to see Bonnie.
Yeah.
Bonnie will be great. And then that Friday, we're at Oskaloosa against Norwalk. And then we'll be back here that following Wednesday. And I'm sure we'll probably have potentially some playoff games coming up.
Yep.
For sure, probably on the girls' side. Probably on the boys' side. Kind of depends on the timing of everything. But I think that's probably what we'll talk some about next week. Our next podcast is how that selection stuff works, and we've touched on it a little bit, and what kind of games we get, and are we together, are we not? There's a lot that goes into all that, so we'll try to touch base on that a little bit. So,
yep.
Anyway,
Jim's
that's all I got.
Yep, me too. All right, we'll
Jim,
wrap it up. He's on
is
mute.
Jim talking?
What, Jim? I can't hear you. He's on mute.
That's not me. What do you do?
I don't know. I think he took his headphones out and then.
I did. How's it now? Can you hear me now?
We couldn't hear you for the last 5 minutes. It was glorious.
Can you hear me now?
Jim, do you have anything else to say before we wrap up?
I do not. I'm ready for, we like this stretch run. What we really like when we get into tournament time is one game. And it's not because we're old and we can't do it, but it is mentally and physically much better on everybody. I mean, you've got that one game. I didn't like when you did 2 games in the tournament series, especially later on sometimes in a boys, and you would have maybe even an overtime in that first game, and it was just a really tough game, not just physically, but mentally, and then you had to go do another game. And I think I like this part that you're going in there, you're fresh, and you doing one game. So,
whoops,
what happened? Did you hit a button?
I think Ben still has to wrap it up.
I think somebody's out there saying, "Let's go."
Well, hey, with that, if you guys don't have anything else, thank you. Gravitate Co-working Studio, Revelton Distillery, our sponsor, and Three Beards Media, our producer. With that, we will say see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.